Network for our debut of the iHomeschool Hangouts. Every week on Thursday at this time, it's 2 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, noon Mountain Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. You'll find us here discussing homeschool topics, family topics, as well as home management topics. If you want to follow along with us every week, you can circle iHN Network or iHomeschool Network on Google+, and then bookmark www.ihomeschoolnetwork.com/hangouts. You'll be able to watch the previous Hangouts and then get a look at the upcoming subjects there. When I'm not working with iHN, you can find me at the Kennedy Adventures, where I talk about homeschooling, large family management, my Catholic faith, and a little bit of fitness thrown in too. I've got some wonderful girls here today on the panel with me that we're going to actually be talking about meal planning for the homeschool family, so I'm excited about this. We'll start off, if you girls will introduce yourself. Amy Roberts, you want to take it from here?
Hi, I'm Amy Roberts from RaisingArrows.net, and I blog there about large family homeschooling and also some grief support there as well. But ironically today I have a post about meal planning up, so this is great timing.
Wonderful. I also have Heidi with us today. Heidi, you want to say hey?
Hi there, I'm Heidi Sarabola. You can find me over at startsatate.com. I blog a lot about our homeschooling, books because I love to read, and photography. And I am also a site contributor and social media manager over at Hip Homeschool Moms.
Okay, great. I was actually able to meet one of your Hip Homeschool Moms, Wendy.
Yeah.
I was at Savvy Blogging over the summer, so fellow Southern girl. All right, my woman behind the scenes today is going to be Jimmy Landley. She's going to be helping me out with getting all of this broadcast over to our event page where you folks can participate and throw out questions and comments and wonderful remarks and any kind of tips that you have about meal planning. We'll get started, like, what in the world is meal planning? And I'd love to hear from my girls about, you know, what does meal planning look like for you? How does it help your family? Do you even use it at all? I'm going to let Amy take this one first because she's our expert for today.
It's changed over the years. Currently, right now, I'm doing somewhere between 1 week and a month at a time, and it all depends on budget at the time. But I just sit down and I pull out a cookbook, or lately it's been Pinterest. I really love my recipe boards on Pinterest, and I'll take them and I'll find the recipes and I write them into my little calendar that I have, and I make my grocery list at the same time, and then shop. From there, it is definitely the backbone of our day. It keeps me going in the right track, because otherwise I'm just constantly scrambling, because as a homeschool mom, you know, we're expected to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks every single day, and if I don't have a plan, I'm basically just feeding them crackers all day long.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Heidi, what about you?
We started meal planning a few years ago because my husband would call me from work at 4:30 and say, "What's for dinner?" And I'd be like, "Forgot to take something out today." And so we actually meal plan in 2-week increments, and we shop in 2-week increments. And the kids like knowing what's for dinner every day. I don't meal plan for breakfast and lunch particularly. We kind of eat the same things. But dinner is always on the side of the refrigerator, so everybody knows what's coming up.
Awesome. In my house, I kind of take it in spurts, and I tell you, actually just getting into the summer, it really threw me for a loop, but I tend to do everything like way gung-ho initially, and then it just falls off like, you know, a lead balloon. Originally, since I work outside the home also, my original goal was going to plan two dinners a week. That's what I was going to do. And that worked great until it got to be like 90 degrees here, and most of my dishes were casseroles. So I had all these fantastic ideas of what to fix and things that my kids would actually eat. But then it ended up being stuff that I'm like, well, I don't want to cook that. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. So summertime really kind of shanghaied me as far as the meal planning was concerned. So I'm hoping to get back with that as the weather starts to turn a little cooler. So we're actually going on vacation next week, and I'm actually planning on doing a little bit of meal planning and whatnot while I'm there, hopefully to get me back into a swing of things as I come home. And I know both of you girls mentioned this. Heidi, you said okay. How many weeks in advance do you plan?
We do 2 weeks at a time. My husband and I usually sit down on a Friday night, and it takes us about an hour and a half, and we'll go through and make a list of dinner meals based on our schedule. You know, if there's a night where we're not going to have a lot of time, maybe it's a leftover, or we take a frozen soup out. So we'll plan for 2 weeks, and then that following Saturday morning, we'll shop for those 2 weeks. Other than halfway through, we'll stop and get milk and fruits and vegetable supply. But other than that, the whole 2 weeks is shopped for ahead of time.
Okay. Amy, do you take a similar approach, or is it a little bit, I think I've heard you say you do kind of a combo of both, like bi-weekly and monthly?
We do. When we can, we try to do a month at a time and then just grab fresh produce here and there. But lately it's been a week to 2 weeks that we do it. And a lot of times it's totally based on budget, or it's based on, if I'm going to be leaving, going on vacation or something like that, I'm only going to plan up to the vacation and a couple days past that so I have some food when I get there. So it's all dependent on our schedule and our budget.
Gotcha. Tell me, Heidi, I don't remember how many children you have.
We have 3.
Okay, perfect. Then this segues excellent into the topic I want to talk about. Tell me, how does meal planning look different in a big family like Amy's and my own versus a small family? Like, Amy, would it be more easier for you if you didn't have as many people to plan for, or is that just kind of what you're used to?
There comes a point every couple, 2 or 3 kids, where I have to learn to cook differently, and that just means I have to learn to cook more. And so, no, I don't know that my meals look any different, other than we eat healthier than we did when I had just the little kids. But I just have to double everything now. So it's really the same meals, just a bigger quantity.
Okay, elaborate on that for me. How are you eating healthier now as opposed to earlier?
Well, about 5 years ago, I did a series on once-a-month shopping, and I went back and looked at that just recently, and I looked at the grocery list that I had put out there for people to download, and I was somewhat appalled. There were things on there we just don't eat anymore. There were more canned vegetables. I don't think we open a can of vegetables ever anymore. And that's just, we eat frozen and we eat fresh. And there's things like that. My flour, is either unbleached or whole wheat. My sugar is raw or sucanat. So it's a totally different meal plan than what I had 5 years ago. So it was interesting to see how different we eat now.
Excellent. I like to hear that too. It's funny because my pantry has changed dramatically since in the past probably 5, 6, 7 years since I got married. Because I was all about prepackaged, pre-prepared foods. That's wonderful. We don't. The only canned vegetables we use now are black beans because I don't get those anywhere. I don't know that you can get them not frozen. I don't know. So
and everything's so much cheaper if you cook from scratch. And so to have like a biscuit mix box doesn't work for us. We use the entire box in one setting. So, I might as well make my own.
Gotcha. I'm just going to stop real quick. Adrian Bolton, I think, has joined us. If you can hear me, kind of let me know, and I'll bring you in. Heidi, what about with a small family? Tell me about meal planning for you. Is it awesome? All right. Adrian, introduce yourself real quick.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. I can hear.
I can. Go ahead. I could. You know what?
Hey,
This is
ladies,
Rose.
can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. Okay, good. I'm Adrienne, mom of 2 boys. I've got a 14-year-old and an 8-year-old. My 8-year-old is super picky, and my 14-year-old will pretty much eat anything I give him at this point, now that he's 14. Meal planning is something that I am consistently inconsistent with.
She sounds like me. Yeah. Oh, let's plan it out for six months, and then you
And
know.
I'm sorry, I'm having some real trouble with Mike, and I can no longer hear you ladies.
Oh. All right, we'll work on that kind of behind the scenes a little bit. Heather, awesome. What about? I had this question actually for later on down the line, but you mentioned that your husband helps you meal plan.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to know how in the world you did it. I actually got some people over in the event room saying, please.
If you like to hear that, then you'll love to hear that my husband actually does all of the grocery shopping too.
Yeah, my husband does grocery shopping at my house too, but meal planning.
Yeah.
It's like at 6 o'clock at night. What's for dinner? Whoa.
It's a motivational thing. We have saved a ton of money by meal planning. It's less stressful by meal planning because it's all thought out ahead. So he'll look at the list the night before and take out the meat or whatever that might need to be taken out. And so we kind of get to the end of the week, to the paycheck week, and it's like, oh, we have to make the list. And like I said, it takes about an hour and a half for us to make the meal plan list and make the shopping list based on what's in our cupboards and what we need to buy. And it just goes a lot faster when the two of us do it together. And we have this joke in our house that he's the other half of my brain, and together we make a whole brain. And so that extends into meal planning for us as well.
I just love that. Amy, I can't recall your husband's name.
Ty.
Does he help you with the meal planning, or is that kind of all your
He's really good at telling me some things that he wants to have, but he kind of leaves that up to me. He'll be like, I'd really like some chili this week, or, something like that. But no, as far as actually meal planning, he skates in after work just in time to eat it. So that's kind of how it goes here.
Well, I guess
my husband actually does some of the cooking.
What was that?
I said my husband actually does some of the cooking as well. He enjoys to cook, where I don't. I put a meal on the table, every night of the week when we're busy. But, you will find my husband most likely in the kitchen on the weekends if he has time. And there are certain meals he really enjoys and he likes to cook. And so he will cook as often as he can because he enjoys doing it.
I don't mind it. It's just I have some pretty picky eaters, and if I'm going to go to the trouble of making something, I get a little ticky when I set it on the table and they're like, "Ew, this looks gross." I'm like, well, people on Pinterest liked it, so whatever. Come on now. All right. What about how does meal planning save you money? Because I know folks are going to want to learn about this.
My number one thing with meal planning and shopping less often is that we always found that the instant you walk into a grocery store, whatever store, you're always, ooh, that looks good, or, oh, I'd love to have that. And we found that the more often we go to the grocery store, the more often we're like, oh, we're a little low on this snack, or maybe we'll have some more of that. And it adds up, a little bit at a time, whereas when we go to the grocery store less frequently, then we make less frequent irrational purchases, so to speak, extra purchases that we wouldn't normally have made. That's a big one as far as the way we used to shop, because we would just pick up so many extra things. You go to the grocery store for 3 things and come back with 15, and that in itself saved us a ton of money.
That's so us too, because I don't know how. I'd like to hear from you, ladies. I don't know how you escape going to the store just for fresh produce, because my kids will eat. We go through produce like crazy people, And you know, you can't save that. I mean, I guess you could can it or whatnot, but you know, we are always with the fresh fruits and vegetables. So I'd love to hear, you know, how in the world do you escape going to the store? Are we getting out of the store without spending, you know, a mint, you know, when you're there for just a few things? Amy?
I went this morning and just grabbed bananas and peaches and plums and left the store. But I was by myself. All I had was the baby. And I can't take my husband if I'm just going to run in and run out because he finds lots of things he needs. And sticking to the list, just making the list and sticking to it. And if you don't have a lot of time to shop, that helps too.
Awesome.
Luckily for us, all the produce is right in front of the store. So, like when we make our midweek trip, literally all the fresh fruits and vegetables are right in the front. You're not walking through everything else. And the other thing we buy is milk. Typically, we go for about a gallon a day here, if not more. And so that's also, they have like a quick station at the front of the store for that too. So it kind of helps avoid some of that temptation of buying other things. But I think Amy's right. You just, you know, you have to go in and be disciplined and say, this is what I went for, and this is what I'm coming home with.
Yeah.
Precisely. What about, I had a comment from Kara Fleck over on the event page. Thank you, Kara. Her oldest daughter helps her with cooking. I cannot remember, I can't remember how old your kids are, Heidi. I know Amy has some older ones. Do your kids get involved with any of the meal planning and or implementing the meal plan?
Yeah, I actually have almost 14-year-olds. She'll be 14 this weekend. And my son is 10 and a half, and then I have a 7-year-old. And ironically enough, they will often decide a lot of the meals that we eat, you know, because they'll be like, oh, I love this. Can we have, you know, have this? And Diana, like you said, often if you've spent the time to prepare something and everybody complains about it, it gets a little frustrating. So, you know, if our kids are, you know, really, hey, I really want to have this, you know, we try and get it onto the meal plan list. And my 14-year-old is always helping me prep food, whether it be for lunch or for dinner, just because we are pretty much out of the house the entire evening with sports in 8 different directions, and so it's dinner's on the table at 4:30. We're out of the house by 5:15, so everything's got to be done and gone by then. And so yeah, my 14-year-old will do a lot of the cooking and help prep with me to get it done.
There's an excellent tip for a little bit more help in the kitchen. Amy, I'm going to assume that your kids probably help you too.
Yeah, they do, especially the 9-year-old and the 12-year-old and the 15-year-old. The 15-year-old will make entire meals by himself, and he likes to cook breakfast, and I don't, so a lot of times he'll take care of breakfast. He did lunch today for us, and yeah, it helps a lot for me, especially to keep homeschooling. He can go ahead and go work on lunch while I finish with my middle kids, and that just saves me time too.
I gotcha. I have a rule in my house about there's to be one person and one person only helping, because with lots of littles, I mean, you get too many cooks in the kitchen, can't get anything done. So that's what if they want to help me with dinner, I'll just end up letting them, you know, one-on-one come in with me, and that's kind of a time for us to hang out, you know, bond together, and then they are much more likely to eat what they've helped me cook. What was I going to say? What about, okay, are either of you all big couponers? Kathy over on the event page, talk about how coupons, if you're using coupons, how does that affect your meal planning and purchases? I will tell you first off that, well, my grocery budget is atrocious, Kathy. I don't even want to talk about it. And I don't coupon because, like Amy brought up, my diet has changed dramatically over the past few years. It's still not anywhere close to where I would like it to be. But we're more of a real food kind of household, sort of getting there, trying little baby steps. So you know, you don't get coupons for produce or grass-fed beef or, you know, any of the prissy stuff that I like to eat. So I don't know. Do either of you girls? I don't do coupons. So my saving money at the store is gonna have to be found elsewhere. What about you, Heidi?
We used to do more couponing, but we've kind of gotten to a point where there's a store here where we live in New York called Aldi's. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. So we do a lot of our shopping there, and we save a ton of money there. And obviously, then there's no couponing to be done there. But we have seen our budget significantly reduced by doing as much of the shopping at Aldi's, and we can do, you know, cereals and meats. My husband has found that when he goes on the weekends early, right on Saturday morning when it opens, they're often discounting their chicken breasts by $2 for the package, which is already a good price, and so, you know, we're paying less than we can pay anywhere else for chicken breasts. So he'll buy as many as he can that they're discounting to get off the shelves. No couponing for us anymore. Like I said, because mostly we're eating produce, or we're shopping at Aldi's where we're already saving a lot of money, and it's considered a generic brand.
Awesome. Amy, look, I saw Amy go, yay, Aldi's in the background.
No, I really can't get anything cheaper than I can get there. There's some things you can't get, and I do buy in bulk from Azure Standard. So that comes once a month, and I buy in bulk there. But for the most part, I do shop Aldi, and then the only type of couponing type thing that I do would be price matching. If I absolutely have to go to a supermarket, and if, like right now, Aldi's milk is super cheap, and I can tell them at the register, if I pick up their store brand of milk, I can tell them, hey, at Aldi's it's this price, and they'll give it to me there. So that's about the only kind of couponing type thing I do.
Okay, that's excellent. I wanted to bring that in too. I froze milk. We freeze milk. I mean, if there's a hot price on milk, if I'm planning on making a lot of cream-based soups or something, we freeze milk, because I have bought it before at St. Aldi's is not that convenient for me. It would require us, but it is in my city. It would require a special trip. And it's not close to anything else that we do. So it would have to be I'm going to Aldi's day. What we've done before is buy milk from Sam's Club. It's cheaper generally than the Kroger. And then we just freeze it. You open it up, pour a little bit off the top, close it back up, throw it in the freezer. It's golden, no problem. You just shake it up before you use it. Because Renee Brown is over giving her tip on the event page. She freezes foods that she can't get to right away. You can freeze a lot more than you think. So I always look it up if I'm gonna be doing, like, if I'm not sure about it, then I'll Google it and look it up. Can you freeze? There are some things that are gross, like sour cream. It just gets all grainy. But other stuff, yogurt usually is okay. So certain things you can just go ahead and freeze if you're not gonna get to. If you find some kind of great deal, you can freeze them if you're not going to get to them right away. Do either of you all have a question from Evelyn Fowler. Do either of you all eat organic or have folks on a gluten-free diet? And then how does that affect your meal planning? I don't have anybody with gluten-free, like a gluten allergy. I know that my husband and I are trying to back away from that a little bit.
Yeah, we do eat some organic. And nobody has a gluten issue here. So the organic, I do have to shop at a different store. Now, Aldi's, for a little bit, was carrying some organic stuff, and I haven't seen it. They've talked about if people liked it, they were going to bring on more of it. So I know I'm planning on calling them and telling them, yeah, I really liked the organic that you had there. But for the most part, I do have to make a separate trip to go get the organic produce and things that we buy.
Yeah, we don't eat organically, nor do we have any gluten issues here in the house, so it's not something that I necessarily concern myself with, because we don't have any allergies, and I don't know, I guess the gluten, we like the gluten. so yeah, that's not something we deal with here.
Evelyn, what we have done in the past, there's, if you look at the Dirty Dozen, it's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. It's the Environmental Working Group, EWG. If you Google that, you'll find they'll do a thing every year, and they update it every spring generally about like what are the cleanest vegetables, what are the fruits and vegetables, what are the cleanest, what are the ones that are the dirtiest, meaning those are the ones that you need to get organic. For example, pineapple. Okay, it's got a thick skin on it. You don't have to buy organic pineapple because that would be overkill. Strawberries, which of course I love, my kids love. Everybody loves strawberries. Better buy those organic because it's like if it's a very thin skin. So if it's like a fruit that has a thin skin on it, you're probably better off buying it organic for safety, health and safety reasons. But my husband and I just kind of take a look at it. It's like, okay, I mean, if it's going to cost me an exorbitant amount of money, to buy organic, then we try to avoid it. We try to do it reasonably within our budget, but it's very difficult. My Kroger carries loads of organic food. We don't always buy that way. So
I can't afford everything organic, so my idea is you just pray over it and pray that,
or grow your own. That would be that would be a thing too. As my kids are getting bigger, it's kind of like, we could probably use a garden here.
Yeah.
We grow our tomatoes and our cucumbers during this. I mean, of course, in New York, the summer is kind of short, so we, for a certain length of time, we can. And we have a very small garden plot because I am not particularly green-thumbed, and the rabbits tend to want to eat our peppers and our beans. But our daughter has been begging us to do raspberries and strawberries, and I'm just not sure I'm ready to try it yet. And we also grow pumpkins. Every year we dump the kids' pumpkins into the garden and grow our pumpkins for Halloween. And no, I don't cook with them.
I love that idea. Well, once again, it's getting them involved, and he has a homeschool science lesson. And
there was a great book, I believe it's called Pumpkin Jack.
Mm-hmm.
That inspired us to start doing it. The kids just loved it when they, the little boy got his pumpkin and carved it, and then he ended up putting it outside, and then, and watched it, and then it became, a new fresh pumpkin the following year for him to use again. And so that kind of inspired it years ago. And so the kids love being able to say, look at, these are the pumpkins we grew. So yeah, but I do not cook with those. I'm sure you could. I just don't.
Well, let me go off on a little bit. Lisa Baldwin's talking a little bit about freezer cooking, which is one of my one of the topics that I wanted to cover, actually, because it's something that I've done in the past. She says that she cooks dried black beans and freeze them in small amounts. That was my question about the black beans, because we buy them in a can. Didn't actually know I could get them in the dried black beans. I need to go to the store a little bit more and research. Talk to me about freezer cooking. Do either of you all do freezer cooking?
Yeah, we absolutely do. More during the winter, or preparing for the winter months, I think, than the summer months. We do a lot of homemade sauces for first pasta. My husband's Italian, loves to have his own sauce, and we do multiple different kinds of soups and things like that. So that then all through the winter, it's we do soup night almost every week, and then everybody can we can kind of have the soups that everybody likes best. So we do a lot of that during the winter.
And you just freeze how do you freeze your soups?
I pretty much just buy containers and and we freeze them up, and because we're not they're not in the freezer for say a year's length. You're talking maybe 3 months, 4 months. By the time we would eat them, we don't really have an issue. So we'll just, we'll buy plastic containers and, use them till they're dead, and then, and then recycle them and get new ones. And we haven't, we've had good luck with that. We have a large designated freezer, for the overflow of, of that kind of stuff, whether it be we find a good deal on meat or, whatever it is. And then at the beginning of the fall, we have it full of containers of, big kettles of stuff that we've made. and frozen out separately.
Amy, do you utilize freezer cooking at all at your house?
Not any organized type freezer cooking where I go and make a whole month worth or anything like that. I haven't done that since before I had kids. So, which is kind of backwards. But what we do is, like, I made a whole chicken in the crock pot, and so I made chicken broth, and it's in mason jars, frozen. And we have a big freezer, upright freezer, because we do buy either a side of beef at a time, or my husband hunts buffalo or deer or some other wild game that we do have a freezer available for that. And so anytime I have like extra peaches, or lately I had a whole bunch of zucchini dropped off at the house, I'll shred it and put it in a bag and stick it in the freezer. But I don't do any actual organized meals per se.
Gotcha. I wanted to mention, you mentioned a deep freeze. I actually have an upright freezer as well. I just wanted to mention for people that were that were thinking about doing freezer cooking. Let me back up. Freezer cooking is kind of a catch-all term. Basically, you either, like Amy mentioned, do all this prep work and assemble your meals, pop them in the freezer. Or, as I've done in the past, say you've got chili, and after a day, everybody in your house is over the chili. Throw it in one of Heidi's containers and put it in the freezer, and 2 weeks from now, you can pull it back out again. Oh, now we got chili. So that's kind of the approach that I take most times, just like to make a little bit of extra and then just put it away. But I wanted to mention that you don't have to have a deep freeze to do this. Of course, that would be ideal. But if you're living somewhere, I know Heidi's in New York, if you're living somewhere where you don't have a whole lot of room at your apartment, you don't have room for a deep freeze, you actually can do that with a standard size freezer. I have a girlfriend who just strategically placed her stuff. She did a lot of her freezer cooking in like giant gallon Ziploc bags. You know, like flash freeze freeze them flat, and then she just kind of stacks them up in the shelves. It looks like, you know, little like almost like newspapers kind of folded up, stacked in there. So you don't have to have deep freeze to do that kind of stuff. And I bet since you all are more budget conscious than I, or better about being conscious with your budget than I am, have either of you all used a meal assembly program or had somebody meal plan for you?
No, I'm kind of type A and a control freak. So I like to be able to do it myself. And throughout the years, my husband and I have assembled a list that we keep of all of our favorite meals. And so, you know, if we're kind of brain stumped, it's like, oh, let's, you know, look back at the list. What have we made? What do we, you know, and as we find new meals that we like, we add them to the list. And so, you know, when we're sitting down to meal plan, we have a list of, you know, to kind of jog our memory. Oh, you know, what can we do? But yeah, I like to be in control. And like I said, we base our meal plan based on our schedule. And so I, you know, based on that, then I, you know, make our own meal plan because nobody knows our schedule like I do.
Right. Amy, what about you?
No, I've not ever used one of those, but it intrigues me. But I think I'm a little too type A too to let somebody else plan my meal.
Well, I enjoyed it, and here's what I'm talking about. There's two different things that come into mind for me. I know some of the girls in IHN have you, and Mary Prather mentioned Plan to Eat, and that was, I looked at it briefly. I apologize, I didn't like totally research it. It was a meal planning system that kind of worked with the sales in your area, and she's probably going to have to correct me at some point because I'm not entirely 100% sure what I'm talking about. You fill in like the stores in your area, your location. You kind of go through their list of menus, and it pulls some of the sales in your area and kind of helps you meal plan along with the sales. That's kind of how I understood it. And I'm going to share actually some links to some of this stuff too. I looked at that briefly. I need to look at it. I need to look at it a little bit better. She's talking about it's the best $5 she spends every month. It's not expensive. an option that I have used in the past, which it was a little bit pricey looking back. But if you broke it down per serving, it actually didn't. It worked out. It worked out to not be terrible. Was a company called Dream Dinners. We actually had them here in Louisville, and they were like a meal assembly company, for the lack of a better term. You went there. You picked out. You went to. They had a monthly menu of all these different things: chicken, vegetarian stuff, pasta dishes, desserts, even. And you went there and you picked what you wanted, for your family, and you could go through and assemble them like all in one fell swoop. So it's kind of like the majority of the work was done for you, which is why it appealed to me, because you just went, you hang out with your girlfriend. I think there was wine there sometimes, and you chit-chatted up with her as you're going through. All the directions were there, grab 6 chicken breasts, grab these many, this much brown sugar, you'd make like barbecue chicken or like a lasagna dish or something, and pop it in their freezer, like as soon as you got done with it, so you'd pop it in the freezer, go on to your next meal that you would make. So then you leave out of there, with 6 to 8 meals that was served, between 6 and 8 people, and you look like a rock star at home. I liked that. I used that like when my husband and I first got married, and it was wonderful for us. So I liked it. They no longer have it here in the area. They have a few locally owned places that I trust my girlfriend. She's tried them. She's like, no, not any good. So that was something that I used before to kind of help me along. I don't know what's the hardest thing about meal planning for you, Amy?
Finding the time to sit down. It often, if I'm doing more than a week, it's going to take me several days to get all of those meals in the right place, and I make notes all along the sides of my calendar. Take this out of the freezer. You're going to be at piano lessons this day. So it's kind of my life on paper there, and it just takes a lot of time to go through and get all of that together. And the kids need me, and there's all kinds of things going on here, so it's really hard to find the time to sit down and do it. And I try not to get frustrated with how long it does take, because it is very much worth it in the end.
Yeah, Diana mentioned her little place there had wine sometimes. After the kids go to bed on Friday nights, sometimes a glass of wine and a little meal planning, and But yeah, I have to agree. I think the time, like I said, I dread it every 2 weeks, and it's like, oh, we have to meal plan tonight. But for us, like I said, I have my husband's help, and we kind of have a no muss, no fuss system that's got us down to about an hour and a half that it takes us to plan for the 2 weeks. I open up my iPad on the table, and that's where my calendar is. And so I sit with the calendar, and my husband kind of bops between freezers and pantries, and so that we can check off what we have and what we need. So I sit and do all of the writing, and he kind of does the active moving about, checking supplies part. And that's the part I dread most, and that's mostly the only part I'm involved in, since he shops on Saturdays for us. He'll take our daughter where she needs to go on Saturday morning, and then just stop on the way home. And now he actually takes his mom too, who doesn't drive, and so they shop together.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, I tell you, if you think about it, so Heidi's got it down to science. It's an hour and a half. Amy, how long do you think it takes? How long do you think it takes you, roughly?
Minus all the distractions. It's probably a 2 to 3 hour event. Yeah.
Well, and you have a lot more kids, right?
I do, and I have my 15-year-old. He does my running around from the freezers, and if my husband's going to shop, and sometimes even if he doesn't, I'll put my list into Cozy, the Cozy app on my iPad, so he can get it on his iPhone. And so, it just takes time to go through. And then I get a lot of my meals off of Pinterest, and I'm not sure that's a good idea, because then I get lost on Pinterest. And so I am Bunny Trail City, but I try.
anytime I open Pinterest, I've learned must have timer, must, because otherwise you're right. It's like I'll completely forget what was I supposed to be looking at because those ads look amazing. Must make those because how's that on the meal plan? I don't know. Oh my word. What was I going to say? Oh, so give me a rough estimate. Like, how much do you think that? How much do you think meal planning saves you budget-wise? I can tell you how much I know it would save me, like just this week, because we've eaten pizza like 1, 2. Yeah, there's $40 right there. So it would save me at least $40 a month, probably.
It actually was significant for us when we switched from, kind of fly by the seat of our pants. My husband calls, on his way home from work wondering what we're eating, because he would stop at the store frequently and, to pick up something then, or we'd, pick something up out to eat. And I think when originally a few years back when we really, switched to the system of meal planning every 2 weeks, we were looking at anywhere between $150 and $200 a month that we were saving. And like I said, we're a family of 5, not a particularly large family, but because of all the excess and the kind of the frivolous purchases, and now that we have it down to a system, he's been going to the public market some Saturday mornings to save on produce, and so yeah, I would say it was pretty significant for us when we switched because of the frivolous spending more than anything, and then just really knowing between the stores what where the deals are. And planning ahead so that we were throwing out a lot of leftovers, a lot of food that would be left over and wasting. So actually in our meal plan, at least once a week, we have a leftover night, and, everybody kind of, we may have just enough for 1 or 2 people per leftover, but everybody chooses what their favorite was. And we have a leftover night, so that is actually something that has saved us having to even plan a meal, for that week, for that day, because it's just the leftovers.
That's one more thing. You mentioned going to more than one store. Amy, do you have to do that with all these? Right? I mean, you can't find everything.
I do. I can't get everything. I can get close to everything, and then the remainder I get at a supermarket, and then I also have the Azure pickup once a month. But yeah, I do have to go to more than one store. And when I'm pregnant and I'm really big pregnant and super tired, my husband kind of insists that we just do one store, and so I will just go to a supermarket and we kind of eat the cost then. But typically we save about $200 a month or more meal planning.
It's time for me to get involved with this, obviously. All right, I'm gonna. So basically, what I'm actually hearing from both of y'all, it's more of a mindset or mindset/lifestyle change. I'm gonna actually share some links from. Those of you watching on the event page may have seen some of this stuff already, some of the links already, but actually within our own network of IHN people, we have some wonderful resources to kind of help get you started. It doesn't, I think when you say meal planning, it sounds kind of scary. At least it does to me. Because look, Amy tells you, hey, it takes me 3 hours, or Heidi's like, just an hour and a half, I got it under control. Me, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle because like I'm killing snakes, I might, have this stuff all intricately planned out for six weeks, and then, come 2 days from now, I'm not going to implement it. So it doesn't make any sense to do a whole lot of planning if you're not going to actually follow through. So I need more follow through. So I got a few things to share with you guys to kind of help out. Our lovely Trisha Hodges from Southern Hodgepodge and our golly, a million other sites, love her, has a free slow cooker batch cooking. I'm gonna say this correctly. Over on her site that you can go buy and download. It's an ebook. There we have it. So yeah, slow cooker batch cooking. That's from Trisha. So you can go by and get some recipes for crock pot stuff. I I do utilize this in the summertime, but for me, fall is all about. I don't. It is kind of that's kind of how my mind works. Gosh, hang on. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here now. Okay, there we go. Amy, I don't have her link in front of me, of course. If you stop by Amy's website today, that's raisingarrows.net. She's got a great big meal planning post ready for you over there to help out. Let me see what else I got here. Got all kinds of stuff. The big thing to kind of remember, oh, there's Heidi's post. Okay, perfect. Heidi starts at 8. There we go. Heidi's doing hers like bi-weekly, so if you're interested in like a bi-weekly plan, you can take a look at that over there where she kind of shares how her system works, how she goes through it all. And remember, this only takes her an hour and a half. So there you go. Yeah, tuna casserole. That jumps out at me because I absolutely love tuna casserole. Delicious.
Surprisingly, we hadn't cooked it in a while, and my son suddenly, we decided to cook it after years, and I made it, and my son decided he loved it, the picky eater. So
my crazy kids don't like it either. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Are you nuts? It's all about, I love tuna fish. It's fat, cheese, fat, noodles, tuna. I mean, what more is there not to like? Come on. I know I got Amy's menu planning ideas. This is an older post of yours, Amy.
Yeah, the one that's up today is brand new, and it has some links in it to some things like my once-a-month shopping. There you go.
Meal planning is
that's it right there.
Awesome.
So I have all my stuff for once-a-month shopping on there too, if you're interested in that.
Excellent. That's a great idea. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to share mine real quick about some easy meals to take to new moms, because if you're looking for recipes that are easy, because let me tell you, I'm all about the easy. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay. Technical difficulties on my part. I'm all about easy meals, and one of my very best friends wrote this post for me about meals to take to new moms, and while it's great for meals to take to others, what was that kind? I'm trying to think of potlucks. If you've got somebody that you're like participating for a meal train for, this is great because it's got dinner recipes, vegetable recipes. There's nothing on here that's vegetarian. Sorry to my vegetarian folks. But those are wonderful and easy peasy. We actually, Angie and I actually went through a lot of these and did some freezer cooking with these too. So you'll find some stuff like that over on my site. But that is it. Do you guys have anything to share? Lisa Baldwin wants to email Heidi and ask her husband's input on meal planning. Since her husband won't help her out. All right. This is awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. So once again, I have Amy Roberts. Amy, you can find over raisingarrows.net. And I have Heidi Saravolette. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
Perfect. It starts at 8. Is it starts at 8.com?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Okay. EIGHT or the number 8?
EIGHT.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Starts at 8.com. I'm me, Diana Kennedy. And I have Jimmy Kennedy. Sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy Landley working behind the scenes. All right. Now listen, you need to mark iHomeschool.com/hangout. That's going to be your go-to place to check out the upcoming topics. Next week is going to be a wonderful topic that's very near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about socializing the homeschool child. That is on September the 12th. And I think after that, let's see, I've got, Uh-oh, let's have to pull it up. I'm so sorry. Socialization, there we go. Socialization, the homeschool child, that's next week. The 19th is going to be sensory play for preschoolers. So all you folks with preschoolers are going to want to stop by. That's going to be fun. Lots of fun. September the 26th is our must-have homeschooling items. That's not just going to be school supplies. We're going to be talking about like what our must-haves are for different things in curriculum. Like must-have, like for me, it's going to be our must-have items to teach Latin. I'm going to be talking about organizing your homeschools coming up in October. We did a little bit of that in our practice sessions, but it's going to be great to look at it again kind of after we've gone in, gotten school started, and kind of figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us. The 10th of October, homeschooling field trips and tips. The 17th, we're going to be talking about teaching worldview. The 24th of October is customizing your homeschool routine and schedule. And the 31st, we're going to be talking preschool again with our little homeschoolers. You can go over to iHomeschool.com/hangouts. There'll be a printable schedule there that will actually take you through to the end of the year. Take a break for Thanksgiving and take a break for Christmas, obviously. But it'll be same time, same place every week, every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central. No, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, noon for Mountain Time folks, and 11 a.m. for my folks on the West Coast. So I think I'm Eastern. Amy, are you Central? And then Heidi is Central. No, Heidi is Eastern as well, like me. Okay. I thank you guys so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them on the event page, ideas for topics, and we'll take a look. Okay? Everybody have a lovely, lovely afternoon. Thank you.